And you got to be very careful with someone who just wants to be on TV and be seen. Because what do they say? The court of public opinion. You got to be very careful because it swings both ways.
Real life.
It ain't real life. Just ain't real. Real life street stars. You know what time it is.
As people probably will see in the title, we're speaking on what now has been, I believe, a dismissal, that's the correct word, right? When there's a lawsuit brought forward, and now speaking of Jay-Z, there's a lawsuit brought forward, and it's called a dismissal when the court looks at it and says there's no lawsuit here.
Correct.
What, first and foremost, before we even get to what adequates a dismissal, what did you see? Because we haven't talked to you since then. When you saw that Jay-Z was brought to a civil suit for the charges, or not the charges, but the civil suit brought forth of him saying that he was one of three part of the Diddy situation with a minor in a sexual assault lawsuit. What did you take? What was your immediate reaction to that?
My immediate reaction is pretty much similar to everyone else's. God, I hope this isn't true, right? That was the first thing that we said. And then I put my lawyer hat on. And so I said to myself, Jay-Z is worth a couple of billion. And so when you're a billionaire, you got the bag to punch. And so I pretty much figured that his lawyers were going to punch back. And so I think that, I honestly believe that they probably had something to do with the timely filing of a lawsuit against the lawyer that filed the lawsuit against them. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that took place.
Let me ask you, because Jay-Z was quiet through all of this, as far as when it comes to the Diddy case and everything of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing we heard about Jay-Z saying anything, or at least coming forward, was when Jaguar Wright went on Piers Morgan and made accusations about him and his wife, Beyonce, in which his lawyer got in front of that and, of course, reached out to Piers Morgan. They didn't send a cease and desist. They just gave him a heads up, like, hey, you're not to just let anything just float out there in the ethosphere. You're on notice. And of course, Piers Morgan came back in and apologized. Do you feel like that maybe opened Pandora's box, or do you feel something like with Busby, who's here, of course, in Texas, something was already brewing regarding this scenario? Do you feel like that opened Pandora's box, or
no,
something was already stirring?
I mean, when Busby filed that lawsuit, he had perpetrator 1, perpetrator 2, perpetrator 3, Sean Combs being perpetrator 1, the other 2 not being identified. And so, to me, I'm saying, okay, he said Jay-Z is perpetrator 2. Perpetrator 3 still, if I'm correct, there was 3 of them. There was another unnamed person.
They said it was a female.
And so that person is still unknown, right? So the question is, what is that person? Has that person talked to Busby? Has that person, is that the person that he's holding in his back pocket to drop that card and said, draw 4? What is he doing? Or who is this person, and what information do they have? And are they credible? Right? Because a lot of times, let's say, for example, person 3 might not even know who they are. I talk to my client, I know exactly who they are. And at the right time, I am going to have that person subpoenaed and take their deposition. I'm going to bring them to me, and then I am going to find out if they have the information that my client says they have. And so that is going to be, I'm kind of curious as to where they are in this whole jockeying for position, because if he hasn't already, because I've been out of the country, if he hasn't already, I'm pretty sure Jay-Z's team is going to file a motion for summary judgment, because the judge would not force Busby to reveal who the victim was. And once they file that motion for summary judgment, that's when you start getting into the potential dismissal of this case.
So let me ask you, when it comes to the victim, the alleged victim, they said they were underage at the time.
Mm-hmm.
From what I know, of course, in order to be underage, you have to have a parent speak for you. Of course, when you're like, speaking to lawyers or, authority figures. Does that matter as far as someone who was young at the time of the assault? Do they need to, you could take a grown person's accounting of like, hey, when you were 5, this happened, or when you're 8, this happened. You could take a grown person's accounting of this without any other validation as far as, did we speak to the parents back then? Did we have anything else? Can someone just say, I could take your claim at face value based on you being a child at the time and maybe not having even a great memory of things?
I'm going to say this. Me and myself, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Because vetting your client before you move forward is crucial. Because as a lawyer, great lawyers have a reputation of credibility. If a judge knows that you will come in there with crap, you're going to have a harder time to get the wheels of justice to move. If you have credibility and it's known by the courts as well as potential defense firms and other firms that you don't play, that you don't bring in junk, they tend to respect you more, and it helps the value of your case. And so I am hopeful that Busby didn't file this case without first really vetting at least that Sean Combs was involved in this. And so, if they can get a strong foundation that Sean Combs was involved, that this actually happened, and you can get that through the testimony of other individuals, you can get that through video or through photographs that this potentially happened, you're going to have a very difficult time just getting this past summary judgment from someone who's testifying on a fact that benefits them. And so you're going to need someone else or something else to help build your case.
So what does it mean how does an attorney look at it when their client goes to do a CBS or ABC interview, CNN, they're covered in shadow, they're Mr. X, or their name is out there, but they're covering their voice and their shadow. Like, what is that as an attorney? Like, do they okay that? Like, this is going to help our case.
Yeah.
But because the person who came forward, even the Jay-Z situation, there was some inconsistencies there. Like, wait a minute. So do they not vet, like, here's what you should say if they ask this question, no comment? Are they not sitting in a room saying, hey, wait a minute, stop. Hey, we're not answering that. Like, what's going on? What do you feel happened there? What was the breakdown there? Because I think that's where it started to break down, as far as her coming in front of a news station, speaking in shadow and having inconsistencies with her father and everything else that was being said.
And man, look, I fired a client for going to the media without me.
Nah, yeah, as you should.
Because my job is to protect you, to protect this case, right? To get you the results that you really wanted. If you just want to be on TV and do that, that's fine. I've been on ABC and national news channels. I don't do it for every case, and I don't do it every time, because some cases don't warrant that. And you got to be very careful with someone who just wants to be on TV and be seen. Because what do they say? The court of public opinion. You got to be very careful because it swings both ways.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
It swings both ways. There have been plenty of times that people have had public support and sympathy and got on TV and it swayed the other way. Those jurors in a high-profile case like this, every person, let me say this, 80% of people in this country know about this case. And I'm just being soft, 80%.
Soft 80.
What juror are you going to get that hasn't heard about this case? So if you allow it to swing the other way till people feel the comments are, she's lying, she's this, it can really do some damage. I mean, if you take a look at, Megan Thee Stallion and Tory, it was at one point, I think basically before Megan did MTV Saturday Night Live, public opinion was heavily against her.
Oh, very heavy.
Heavily against her.
Because she lied.
And so then it got to a point where when she gained more public support, you think it's coincidence that the prosecutor decided to go then? It's like hopscotch. I always tell people this, right? When I did criminal law and I was doing domestic violence cases, I would say, hey, look, right now it's not been anything in the news, something, blah, blah, blah. If we're going to do something, we probably need to do something now. They're like, delay. They delay it. Next thing you know, father shoots mother in parking garage, kills her, blah, blah, blah. I said, son, now we need to delay. Because every jury member in Dallas County has heard about this case, and you are their opportunity to do something about that case. So if they can send you to jail on behalf of her who died, they're going to do it. Because in their mind, a man who will beat a woman will shoot a woman.
That's very true. So what do you say to someone who's filing a civil lawsuit, like in the Jay-Z situation, in which, true or not, just even bringing forth the civil lawsuit, now you could get paid for interviews from the media, from whoever. Now you're making a name for yourself. Do you see just some error in a law firm allowing someone to file a civil suit just to bring notoriety to their name, whether it be true or not? Because again, we're going to get to dismissal, but I'm just curious your thoughts on someone saying, I'm going to get paid for interviews leading up to this case.
What did I tell you on another series? Like if you watch our series and time all together, I told you that in the first one, in the Lil Woody case, I told you the jury was so confused that they could not come to a conviction. I told you it was just too much. There was no straight line or even a slant to a story. It was all over the place. It looked like a doodle. And I told you they couldn't get there. In this situation, having your client go out there, I told you in a previous interview that if it's my client, I'm taking names. Because when I get to the point that it's slander, I am coming for you. I'm coming for the news station. I'm coming for the individual. So the check you got, give it here. The stuff you bought with it, give it here. News station, because you got to remember, Fox was hit with several million behind making false accusations during their last election.
Yes.
You just can't get up there and say, First Amendment, I can say what I want to say. No, you have to vet what people are saying and you're pushing. And so, or throw a disclaimer out there or saying, hey, look, this is their opinion. It may not be true. And you have to have someone who says the opposite to balance it out. If not, you're going to catch these legal hands.
So let's get to the dismissal. What does it mean for a law firm to file a lawsuit civil in this scenario. And then the judge look at the criteria and everything that goes out about it, the evidence, just everything, whatever they look at, and they just dismiss it. What is that? Is that as worse than like getting hoping for a guilty verdict and getting a not guilty? I mean, how punishing is that to a law firm to just say, a judge to say, hey, you filed this lawsuit, you have all this notoriety on your law firm, you did all this, but now we're just going to dismiss it?
It means that, so there are two parties dealing with a civil lawsuit. There's the judge and there's the jury. So the judge looks at the law to make sure that the case or the cases fit within the context and meet all what they call the elements necessary for that litigation to go forward. If it doesn't meet that, or it doesn't present enough facts to go forward for a jury to determine if it's true or not, then a judge will dismiss the case because it lacks the necessary elements or the facts that a jury could use. It's not enough, like say, for example, other than in criminal law, if you say I hit you, it's not enough for you to say I hit you. You got to show that I was in the same place. You got to show that I had the means. You had to show that we were in proximity of each other. It's several things, and I'm just using this as an example. You have to show all of these things for a judge to say, at that point, okay, now a jury can have it, and they can hear from both sides to see if what you're saying, how you got hit, why you got hit, is true. But if you say I hit you on January 8th, and I show me in a hotel room in San Juan on January 8th, and you were in Dallas, the judge is gonna be like, I'm not submitting this to a jury.
Yeah. So with that being said, Jay-Z's now in the clear for now. Dismissal on that situation. Again, staying on his name because, again, a lot of content creators made a lot of, let's just say, money or headlines off of just the accusation. And I think the accusation is kind of what hurts a reputation, like, kind of stay out of the accusation phase. But when you're that big, these things can come from nowhere. We're not supposed to take it serious, but because Diddy, we were kind of taking it serious. So,
did he do it?
Did he do it? We're gonna see May 25th. And again, what are your thoughts on this trial coming up for Diddy? Should it be televised once again? And do you feel like it's gonna be a elongated trial, YSL level?
I'm gonna tell you something. I would bet good money that the person who accused Jay-Z is going to be brought into Sean Combs' trial. The reason why I would do it is I would show this person went all the way to the very end, and it was shown that they lied. In the criminal case, we didn't have an opportunity to do the same things that they did, and creating reasonable doubt. And they're saying, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true, they lied. And they didn't get a chance to depose or do anything and use the tools over here. Yeah. How many of them over here lied? And so I would seriously believe that person would be brought in to show that many of these cases could be lies.
Shout out RealLyfe Street Starz, nigga. Move. Hey.